Corey, good to have you back on here, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah. First things first, I want to congratulate you on the birth of your child. That's fantastic, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. That is really great. Um, and also congratulations on the new record. It's coming out July 25th. Is
That's
that right?
right. That's right.
I Love People, which is
Yes.
through Drag City.
Yes.
A lot of good stuff coming out, man. I like it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a crazy time right now. My hair is kind of like sticking straight up right now
It looks
because I
good. It
haven't.
looks you're looking good, man. You're outside.
It looks like a bird. It looks like a falcon
No, it looks
on
good.
my
I
head.
like it. I like it, man.
I mean, I'm 37 years old. I'm not going to complain about having this much hair, but yeah, it's I just kind of, you know, rolled out of bed.
Looking
Um
like that, I mean, hey, I wish that was me. I'm working towards it. Let me ask you this: you ever have long hair? You ever have like really long hair, or no?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
I
Oh
feel like
yeah.
every time I've seen a picture of you or see you, you always got like pretty short hair, like just high and tight, keeping it.
I keep it tight now. I found that in my early 20s I had hair down to here, and I found that people generally had less respect for me and they thought less of me, which is kind of a cool thing. It's kind of good in a sense because when people have low expectations of you based on your appearance, then you're constantly exceeding their expectations just by being normal. And so I found that useful in some ways, but in terms of like, uh, I don't know. It just having short hair, yeah, people generally see me more as like an adult. And now that I have a little one that I can carry around, people tend to leave me alone more, which is nice.
Do you think that you'll have long hair again? Do you see that resurfacing?
I think about it sometimes. Some people have a long-haired soul, you
Mm-hmm.
know, like Chad Yubovich has a long hair soul. He's
Yeah.
like he's like always in my mind if I picture him, he's got long hair. Actually, when I picture him in my head, it's when we were 14 and he had the Johnny Ramone haircut, which like on a 14-year-old is pretty hilarious. It's just like this perfect, you know, penis head like on your I don't know how else to explain it. Like a mushroom, like a big mushroom of hair.
Yeah, and
Um,
shout out to Chad. And it's interesting. I had him on here before, and I feel like it was right around the time that he like cut it all off, and he was like kind of high and tight there for a bit, and it looked good. He looks good either way, with long hair, with the shorter hair as well.
he's a handsome man, so
Very
it
handsome
makes
man.
sense.
A lot of handsome men have graced this podcast, and myself included. By the way, I'm not exiling myself from this from
I
from
didn't want
the
to say anything,
from
but
the hot guy list.
you're
Hey,
looking good.
thank you, sir. We got the new album coming out. Now, this is compiled from 4 years of notebooks. Is this right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Wow.
a long period of songwriting.
Hmm.
What? How else can I explain it? I was writing songs. You know, I was sitting down with an acoustic guitar and a pen and a notebook, and I was writing songs. And then sometimes I'd go to the piano and I'd write some more songs on the piano. And I did this for, yeah, like 4 years in between projects, Pale Horse Rider, Western Come, and then the Wand record, Vertigo. And just, yeah, like kind of secretly working on this stuff, wasn't showing anybody. So, yeah, I worked on this record for, I didn't even know if I was working on a record. I was just working on songs and just not really putting a lot of external or internal pressure on anything to like be a record or be a single or whatever, but it's just writing to write. um and it got to a point where I had hundreds of songs, and
Wow.
I thought like, well, I shouldn't really write anymore because this is feeling overwhelming. It was a lot of music, and I didn't know what to do with any of it because there were songs that I had written, like 20 verses for, and then picked two. And then there were songs that I wrote in the time that it took to sing them. It just happened like very uh, effortlessly. And so having those next to each other, it's like, how do I pick? Obviously, I want to favor the song that I've worked on for 2 years, but maybe the song that I wrote in 3 minutes is better. And I don't know. I can't be objective about that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Um, so I hired my friend Robbie Cody, to produce and record the record. And I said, here is this music. It's a shit ton of music. Please go through it and pick the things that you think are working, and don't think twice about cutting anything. You don't even have to listen to a full song if you're not feeling it. Just be like, yeah. And so he did that, and that's when production started to get rolling on this record. uh, he listened to all that stuff and came back and said, "Okay, I want you to demo these like 40 songs." So I went and demoed those on a 4 track and came back. And then he was like, "Okay, these 20 songs you should record." And so then we went and recorded the 20 songs. And then we put 11 songs on the record.
Wow.
Bing, bang, boom. Done.
Some of those songs that didn't make the cut, will you use them on another album or piece of
We'll
art?
see. We'll see. I don't know. It's like, I just don't like putting pressure on any of these songs to be anything. Um, because it doesn't, I feel like songwriting, it's hard to lie, if for me, when I'm listening to music, like I can always tell when someone's being disingenuous, or like when something feels off with like the vibe, or uh yeah, I don't know. I feel like with songwriting, it's got to feel easy. With music in general, it's like no one wants to listen. I don't want to listen to anything and be like, "Wow, that sounded like it was really hard to make and wasn't any fun." And it's like, no, I want to hear someone just be effortless, and just have fun with what they're doing. Um, and enjoy that. That's what I enjoy about music. I mean, I like when people are really talented, and work really hard practicing their instruments, and so that they can perform, something effortlessly. But the effortlessness is always, to me, it's like thought instrument, or feeling instrument. It has to go as quickly to the instrument as possible, whether it's singing or guitar or piano or drums or whatever. Um, it's more about developing technique so that you can just immediately get there effortlessly.
But in terms of it being easy or looking for it to be easy, are there parts of the a writing process or maybe performance or some of these other kind of more niche parts of being in a band or creating music in general that is difficult for you at all? Or more difficult than constructing songs or whatever it may be?
I mean, there's always going to be difficulties, but to me, the difficulties never really have to do with performance. Um, performance is like, to me, is very conversational. It's like you and I talking right now. Um, and it's like we're both trying to make something happen right now. We're trying to make this entertaining, engaging, podcast interview podcast, in which
Effortlessly, may I might
I
add,
yeah,
effortlessly. Yeah.
yeah, trying to make it easy and fun, but conversational, bringing things to the table, each of us contributing something to this conversation, and it's going to come out as one thing, an interview between us two. And there are all kinds of difficulties, like for instance, like logistically, just me getting to do this interview has been extremely difficult because I have so few windows of time available to me, because there is a tiny version of me that is pissing and shitting and eating and screaming, um that and then I also have a baby. I'm just kidding. um it's yeah, so there are difficulties, but yeah, so there's difficulties in terms of logistics, and then with performance there's always the challenge of hearing and listening to each other and being able to properly listen to yourself while hearing everybody else. That is always a challenge. Um, but in turn, and those will always, sort of impact the quality of the performance or inform the quality of the performance. Um, but yeah, I think when it comes down to the actual thing, it's like usually it's pretty, at least if I'm not coming in with like a ton of expectation, it ends up being something interesting, at the very least. And then maybe something that I feel interested in releasing. Like when we recorded the songs for I Love People, we just went into the studios, me and Evan Burrows and Evan Becker from Wand, and then Robbie from Wand in the uh, engineering seat, production seat, control room. And we didn't rehearse anything. I sent them the songs to check out. Um, but I just call a song and be like, let's try this one and see if we could do it. We'd do a couple takes, we'd play it until we felt comfortable with it, and then do a couple takes just to get it right when we were like familiar with it enough to play it, you know, um, but not overly familiar that we were just like sort of rehashing things that we'd already played. And so everything feels like very natural, and there's like kind of an easiness to the recording part of it, um, that I think translates very well to the record.
Yeah. Do you feel like this easiness or organic mindset that you're bringing to recording and performing for that matter, do you feel like that has been learned through the process of making music over the years, or was it always that stem always there?
I mean, I think it's always been there, but definitely it comes from having played, hundreds and hundreds of shows, and just realizing like, oh, I feel more comfortable just straight up performing than going into a studio and trying to like zero in on these very specific aspects of my performance, like just guitar, just vocals, and putting them under a microscope. It just feels awful, uh, and sort of uh, like antithetical to the way that I've just been playing music, for the last 15 years, which is mostly on the road and then sometimes in the studio. And yeah, so I was listening to my voice, on the last few records I've done, which were all uh, just me in front of a nice vintage microphone,
Like
in
a
a booth.
Shure SM7B or something like that?
No, no, like a Neumann uh, U48, so like some actual classic, uh, not a modern classic like the SM7, but a
Thank you.
vintage
Thank you.
classic. I mean, it's weird, man. Microphones. It's weird to think that microphone technology peaked, in like the early 50s. Like
Yeah.
it's a strange thing that we haven't really well until the SM7B came along. Then that was the new standard. Um, but no, what I was noticing is that my vocal performance is just different. You know, when I'm doing it in the booth and everyone's listening, it's like I get tired more easily. My voice strains, and it can be really difficult. Um, but if I'm performing, you know, I just immediately go into the performance sort of flow zone. And because I'm there all the time, it's very easy to get into that state instead of trying to, you know, replicate that alone. Um, so yeah, we just cut all the vocals live, and it was way easier,
That's
you know.
awesome. In terms of looking through these notebooks, were you flipping through them to find something specifically, or were you just kinda just glossing through and seeing what was in there?
I mean, I I was just writing, you know, just pretty openly writing and searching, and not really terribly concerned with what direction I was going into, to a point that, you know, I had so many songs, and I had no idea what to do with them. Like I had no idea which ones were good, which ones were bad. Um, and it was sort of stressful in terms of like selecting songs to put on a record and being like, well, what songs actually work together? That was the only difficult part, but the actual writing, you know, was fun because it's just for me, you know, like all these songs were just written for me. Like I didn't write them with any other person in mind, or like a audience in mind, or listening, um, or the, you know, the label or anything.
Does the audience ever cross your mind when you're working on something, when you're writing something? Or is
No.
that kinda yeah,
No. I don't think I mean, I will think about the audience when we're rehearsing the songs live, but that's more like, let's make this fucking rock, let's make this fun, you know, and put on the best show that we possibly can. Um, but I think that I don't think about a lot of things, you know, when I'm writing. I try not to let too much in, because it can be really toxic, you know, if you get into that state of there's a lot of things that they try to get, they being, I don't know, like um, I don't really have this situation because I'm on Drag City Records. Like major indies and major labels, or indie labels that operate like major labels. You know, they'll be like, "Oh, you should, you know, get this collaborator on your song because it'll pump your streaming numbers. Oh, you should, you know, there's things like, you know, with the Spotify algorithm where they're like, "Oh, you got to have a vocal in the first 15 seconds."
whoa,
Things like that. So it's like there are um kind of cynical uh,
aspects.
aspects, you know, that are sort of, they can corrupt your compositional sense, you know, as a writer. If you are going to entertain that stuff, and then it might, you know, compromise the work. I don't like to let that stuff get in to my head. I mean, I think about it like, oh, maybe I should write a song where in 15 seconds the vocal comes in. Um, but Yeah,
But you would do it by choice, not because somebody said that you had to make this mark in order to release a certain song.
yeah, yeah. No, I wouldn't. I mean, nobody is telling me what to do. Nobody ever tells me what to do, which is nice.
Never. Never.
Um, and I know people that have problems with that, you know, with the people they work with the people that put out their records, or they'll turn in a record and do things like, oh, there's not enough singles, or they'll put out a record on a major indie and then be like, oh, I want to put out I have a new record I want to record, and they're like, well, your last one didn't sell, so we're gonna let you go, you know, shit like that. It's like very cynical, and um and it's very common, you know, in the
Yeah.
indie world.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a finicky process at times. Like, oh, you didn't meet the numbers that we are expecting, so we got to cut you loose. That's a tough conversation.
Well, it's just like, why are you putting bands on your, like bands that are just good, because record sales don't, like anything else in this fucking world, profit does not mean that something is inherently good, or that it's inherent value as like uh, um, a piece of art, has anything has anything to do with how many fucking records it sells, or
Yeah.
units it will move. So, and especially in this industry now, it's really hard to move units, because of streaming, and uh, because of the culture of convenience around tech. Uh, it's made it harder to, move physical units, and it's also harder to profit off of streaming. I mean, this is getting into like a larger industry conversation. Um, but yeah, so to be an A&R person at whatever, and then get a band, and then be like, your band's fucking awesome, we love your band, and then they put out a record like, your record didn't do very well, so goodbye. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Well, now on the other end of that coin, if you if you, let's say the shoe was on the other foot that you were A&R, and it was just like, this is not a good album, or I don't perceive this being a good album, not even in terms of just doing numbers, like this is not good. Would you, I mean, would you broach that conversation with the artist and say, let's try to do something different? Or would you just put in the time and say, well, we got to back this artist, whatever they want to do?
I mean, how bad is this record sucking?
It's
What
bad.
is, equate it to something?
Let's say that this band was making like just kind of more of classic rock, right? And that's why they're signed to this label, that they're making classic rock. And you go, okay, they're gonna make another classic rock album, great. And then they come in and they're like, we're gonna do Gregorian chant. We're like stripping all the instruments away, moving in a new direction, but they don't know how to make Gregorian chant music. And I mean, do you say to that person like, hey, we can't put this out because nobody's gonna buy it because you don't know what you're doing with this genre, and people won't like it? Like, what do you do in that scenario?
Um, I mean, it sounds like it's going to be a good record, this Gregorian chant, without knowing how to Gregorian chant. I mean, I would definitely put out this record. I'd be like, fuck yeah, you guys want a Gregorian chant? You know, let's do this.
Okay.
That's a pretty bold move to go from classic rock,
Yeah,
sounding
it's
like
it's a big shift.
AC/DC, to then just straight up Gregorian chant. I mean, that sounds kind of like Sleep or something, like how they did Holy Mountain, and then they made Dope Smoker on a major, and then they gave him the record, which is Gregorian chant adjacent, I would say.
In
It
some sections, yeah.
implies the rich tradition of Gregorian chanting, um, mixed with the rich tradition of cannabis inhalation, badass Sabbath influenced riffs. But yeah, the label made them cut it down and like do all this shit and like chop it up and turn it into a different record and change the title because the title was too suggestive of exactly what that fucking band's about. And like,
Smoking dope.
yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, yeah. I would put that record out, man. I don't I think uh that's a different problem. So
Yeah.
I don't think it really is the same as just looking at like how many physical copies you sold, or how big your streaming numbers, or how well the record's done on TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's more of a cynical business. I would, as a record, if I was a record label owner, I would love to have the problem of a classic rock band doing a Gregorian chant record, you know?
It's a good problem to have.
I would love to have a band that felt comfortable enough being on my label to do a move like that and be
Mhm.
like, this is what this label is all about. Crazy fucking pivots that
And if you
nobody is
don't fucking
expecting.
pivot, you're gonna be
Yeah, you're out
you're
the
gonna get
fucking door.
booted. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's it, you're gone. Um, well, do you think that there's gonna be a point in which that, artists, will be able to be paid better further down the line like they once were? Or at least could live off of something and not having to depend on it selling X amount of units or being viral on TikTok or something like that. Do you think that we'll get past this point that we seem to be in terms of
No,
music?
no.
Okay.
I don't think so. I mean, when have we ever not been at this point? Is really the question. You know, it's always been a one percenters game, the music industry. It's always been about, you know, the people that move 100,000 units, and they're the, you know, everyone's looking for artists like that. Nothing is selling that much anymore.
Mhm.
But like, yeah, it's like the people that make the tiny things, or the experimental things, or like the long durational things, or you know, whatever, like the things that create the culture, and uh then bleed into these, or are sucked dry, you know, by these like major label artists who are constantly looking for things that are viable
Mhm.
and like have, you know, life, and are interesting and are unique, so that they can sort of take it and pull it into their, you know, interpolate it into their music machine thing.
Yeah.
I think that's always been a thing. um and you know, if it wasn't this, it'd be like payola radio, you know, in the fucking 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. But then it's like, would I rather just like be able to fucking send a DJ a fucking bag of cocaine and a brown bag with $500 in it, so that he could put my record at number one in Cincinnati? I can't bribe an algorithm, you know, I can't send them any amount of drugs.
It's very difficult. Yeah. It's very difficult to even get in contact with them, let alone bribe them. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can talk to ChatGPT, and I
Yeah.
can say, "How can I bribe you? What can I give you that you want? What would you
What
want?"
do you want? Yeah.
But then they'll say things like, "I do not want. I have that is not written into my, you know,
Code or whatever
yeah, it's not possible because they're not sentient, you know?"
in terms of creating songs. Do you sometimes have to change a certain line, from a notebook that's, like, directly ripped from that notebook because it might not be palpable or your audience may not be able to connect to it? Or do you just let it lie as it is and let people come to it, however they may come to it?
It depends. Depends on the song. Um, yeah, it's I feel like I often make some pretty hard turns, verse to verse, especially if there's a third verse. Then that turn that like Texas Weather, for instance, you know, it really takes a turn on that third verse. Um, and I often thought like, well, should I just make something that feels more cohesive with the rest of the song, you know, instead of writing this thing about one of the members of the Eagles murdering a chick? Uh, I don't know. Then I was like, but this is pretty funny, you know, to me. I don't know. Yeah, I just mostly am thinking about what's entertaining me, what would I want to hear. Um, if I connect with it, then because I am a human being, and
And you're sure about this.
I am 100% sure.
Sounds like what a non-human would say. Okay.
So, and I think I'm included in the people that I'm in love with. You know, I
Mhm.
love all these people, and I have to love myself too. Because if I can't love myself, I don't think I can love anybody else.
It's true, you gotta love
And
yourself first, yeah.
I have struggled with that, you know, as anyone does, as much as I've struggled loving other people. But yeah, I think I mostly trust my own sense of like, what do I want to hear, as opposed to being like, what do other people want to hear?
Mhm,
What are they
mhm.
missing, you know, in their record collection? You know, what can how can I fill the gaps here?
I believe a quarter of that because 'cause I'm still not sold on the whole human thing, but that's alright. How much editing, is done? I mean, I'm just talking about in a general because I know that this is a very circumstantial sorta question here, or it could be, viewed this way, but, in general, how much editing is done from an initial idea for a song while putting it together and then to the final recording process of it? Is there a lot of changes happening or somewhat some changes here and there?
Usually there's I will usually just write a like just the minute I get a song idea, and I try to do this, I try to make a point of doing this now because I've lost a lot of songs or just like had to refine my way to back to a lot of songs. I get a melody idea or I get an initial like, you know, spark of like, oh, this is, you know, I'll hear a phrase or something and then just write it down. And now I just like will write 3 verses and, you know, get a block down and be like, this is just here as a placeholder, just so that I don't lose the idea and I can always refer back to this thing. Um, if I don't do that, it gets really hard, kind of difficult to retrace my steps. Uh, and then I'll go and I'll write a lot of verses and just try a bunch of different things and see if I can kick up something else. And then if nothing happens, I'll just go back to what I initially wrote.
Is it hard to tap back into where that initial foot plant came from, uh, while revisiting it, while coming back to that idea that you have written
It
down
can
or
it
recorded?
can be if I don't do the you know proper things to make sure that I don't lose it. You know, if I get a whole idea down, then it feels like I have enough substance, you know, to hold on to and commit to memory. Um, But yeah, some things like Bird on a Swing, you know, like that song took like 3 or 4 years to write just because I had the melody and I didn't know what to do with it. And so I just wrote, would come back to it like often, you know, but then forget about it because it was just a melody. And then I would like, you know, be walking around, walking my dog, and then the melody would come back and I'd be like, oh, I forgot about that thing. That's cool that it just came back, you know, and didn't just go away. And then I would try to write something again, and then it would elude me. Um, and I'd be like, "Oh, that's still not very good." And then I would just keep doing that, you know, until something came across that felt right.
Yeah, what is that moment like when you come across some that right feeling or when you're piecing things from the notebook, maybe 2 ideas together from the notebook, you're like, "There is something here." What is that feeling like?
I mean, it's usually that's where that's where things are like it's where things get fun, you know? And there's like a giddy joy to being like, "Oh, look." there's these things and they're sort of fitting together. These pieces are, it's like, have you ever done a puzzle?
Sure, sure.
Like, you know, 1200, 2000 piece, when they get really
I'm not, I can't get that big. I'll do like 800. That's more of
oh
my
yeah, okay.
wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, my wife is really into doing them and I don't have the patience for it. Um it frustrates me, but I have sat down and done them with her, and when you get pieces that connect, there is this dopamine thing that happens like instantaneous that is like, oh, it feels good.
It
Um
does. It does feel good.
so it's kind of like that, it's like, oh shit, like here, this is working. Um and yeah, it's fun.
Building off of
It's
that,
easy.
yeah. Building off that analogy, are you with songs usually trying to fill out the border of it and then move in to create the whole piece and connect all sides of it? Or are you just trying to get something maybe in the middle and then build outwards until it's completed?
Well, that's the thing is like, yeah, with songs, you don't know. I don't usually know what is the order of things, and I try not to impose any kind of order until the whatever organic things happen. This is super abstract feeling when I'm talking about it, but like, yeah, I don't want to structure a song that should be able to define its own structure with its personality and with the character of the music.
I like that. I like that answer, Corey. It's a good one. It's a good one. Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
got to give it to you on that one. Um, are are more changes happening with the lyrics throughout the process of building out a song, or is it more instrumentation, or just kind of a bit of both in certain situations?
Um, with this record, I my goal was to walk into the studio and have all of the lyrics be done and not be doing any adjustments in the studio or like very, very minimal, adjustments. Um, and because the process was so like open and casual with the other musicians, I wanted to at least just have my shit as on lock as possible. Um, I read an anecdote about Bob Dylan when he was doing, I think it was "Time Out of Mind" with Daniel Lanois, where because people talk about how the production of that record is such a big, uh, you know, part of the vibe and this of the songwriting and of the sound. And Dylan, I guess, walked in and was just like, "The record's already done." Like on the first day of recording, he's like, "The record's already done. The words are complete. I just finished them last night." He's like, "I don't really give a shit what happens in here," you know? And I was like, "Oh, that's cool. That's like a great way to approach making a record. It's already done. You just
Wow.
gotta go in and put it down."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and is that your mindset when when it is to that percentage point, I guess, of completion, like when you're in the recording studio, or let's say that all the recording's done and it has to be mixed and mastered, is it at that point that you're like, yeah, it's done. Like I've completed this task.
Um, I mean, for me, the record isn't really done until I've gone and toured on it
Mm.
and presented it to everybody and um, made my case, for the thing. Um, and and then after that, I'll put it away. Creatively, I think the minute that the recording was done, I was like I'd already moved projects,
Oh
I'd
wow.
usually do that. I just the minute that everything that I'm not like in production mode proper, like where I'm not thinking about like what the arrangements are like or what the mixes are like. Um, I'm just already working on another project.
Are you always comfortable within the process of a project, getting it done. Is that where you like to be?
Getting it
It
done?
in the midst of hashing something out, working on something.
Just always working on something. It's like just a part of my fucking neuroses about, I don't know, it's a thing that happened at some point in my life. I don't know when, where I just started writing songs um with regularity, you know, as a practice. And so it really doesn't matter where I'm at um in my life, you know. Even with a newborn, it's like I'm up, at 4 a.m. trying to uh get him to fall asleep, with a notebook at my side. It really doesn't matter what is uh um happening in my life. I am really, easily interrupted by the songwriting process at any stage, you know. Um, Maybe sex is the only thing that will stop me from grabbing my notebook and jotting down an idea, but there will come a day, I'm sure. I think it's a thing when people think about writing music or making art or anything. I think it's like The Shining, that film about the writer who's trying to write this uh trying to finish this novel or something, and never really describes what it is. But he's at that typewriter, and any time that he's interrupted from the typewriter, it puts him into this violent rage to the point that he tries to murder his family. That is very much not what's going on with me. It's like the opposite. It's like I have this beautiful child and this beautiful wife, and I'm just trying to sit and enjoy that life, you know? And I am just fucking constantly interrupted, pestered by these songs that just get in my head, and then I have to write them down. Um, so yeah, it's a bit of a problem, I guess.
A little bit of an issue. You ever hear Stephen King? I think it was I might have this incorrect, but I'm pretty sure I have this correct. That Stephen King didn't like that adaptation of The Shining from his book. Could you believe that?
No, it robbed him of the catharsis of dealing with his alcoholism um, through the book, the
Yeah.
horrors of his alcoholism.
I don't know. I thought it was a good film.
I mean, it's hard to argue that as a bad film.
Yeah.
I
It,
would I would
you got
not,
the
when I think
Kubrick.
of bad movies, I'll think of like the Avengers 2 or something.
I don't know why they're making so many of these films. I uh, I, I don't understand it, Corey. As long as people are liking them, that's okay. That's fine. They're just not for me. I don't get it. The Spider-Man, Superman, like every time I turn on a television, is always promoting another what seems to be the same film that I just saw a trailer for 3 months ago. I don't know.
Well, it's just IPs, it's like that's the whole game now in Hollywood. It's really sad is that you have these production companies and the people that work for them, just are trying to look at things that have pre-established fan bases, no matter what the fuck it is. And that's why they're making all these video game things now and Star Wars, but they're exhausting. They're exhausting the audience. Um and Yeah, nobody's making anything that's not a thing that already existed in some form, in the past,
Yeah. Well,
as like
and
a,
yeah,
a board
just
game or whatever,
or a puzzle,
or a
something like
puzzle.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd actually be really interesting making a film about a puzzle. Might have to cut that out because we might be working on that later on in the year. So
The
yeah,
puzzle movie. Yeah, just called Puzzle.
it's just called
Puzzle
puzzle.
the movie. It's a good idea.
I like it. We'll hash that out. Um, Let me ask you this. There's a lot of reasons why a song is good, or reasons why a song just sounds good to multiple people. Is one of those marks perhaps a a song that can be viewed in different ways by different people at different points. One time the first time they hear it, they like it because they see it from the point of view of a protagonist, perhaps, and then they come back to it and they hear it from a different point of view. Do you feel that way as well? Do you feel like you're gravitated towards songs that you have looked at it different ways throughout the years?
Oh yeah, totally. I think that's a really amazing thing about music is having a kind of parallaxical, if that's a is that a word? Parallaxical?
It sounds
Like
good, and I'm gonna co-sign that. Yeah, please.
like having a, gone around the bend with a song
Hmm.
and seen yourself change, and the song starts its meaning starts to shift. Sometimes it gets deeper, and I think that's really cool. And I obviously would welcome that with my music if anybody has that.
Yeah. Is there a song that sticks out to you while we're discussing this that you might have gotten something different from it throughout the years of listening to it?
Oh, tons of songs, tons of songs. Let me think. Yeah, something that I mean, I feel like any Velvet Underground song,
Mhm.
just something I've probably listened to the most, um, like Velvet Underground and Beatles. I put on the Beatles' White Album the other day, and that's a record that I listened to obsessively when I was like 13, 14. But I'd heard it, since I was like a little baby. And, like I remember putting it on maybe like a couple years ago and being like, oh, these are like children's songs, they're all like Bungalow Bill, Rocky Raccoon. They're like these goofy characters that are like super simple. These baby songs that the Beatles wrote are starting to be really appealing. Oh, they wrote them in India. Well, that's interesting. While they were studying transcendental meditation. Well, I'm getting into transcendental meditation, so this is kind of cool. This makes sense. Everybody's got something to hide, except for me and my heroin addiction.
Yeah, right, right.
I was thinking about this morning, actually. I don't know why I was thinking about this, but there's so many songs about cocaine and heroin. Um, they have been the source of inspiration for many bands. Oh, because I was listening to Guns N' Roses, uh, Mr. Brownstone, and I was like, man, these guys are really inspired by how much cocaine they were doing. And I never found hard drugs inspiring at all. I kind of found them to be distracting
Mhm.
the few times I've interacted with them. Um, but yeah, I've never been like, my God, this is I feel a song coming on. But I've never tried heroin. It's never appealed to me.
Yeah, it is interesting that that seems to be a lot of people's mindsets, but then of course you hear about, like William S. Burroughs or somebody like that that is like riding on heroin. It's like, well, I mean that he was able to get a lot of stuff, or Hunter S. Thompson. I know I'm using writers in this analogy, but I mean other musicians, of course. And it is really interesting that it has been looked at as like a, hey, this really inspired me. But then other people are like, I don't know how this could be inspiring. It's interesting duality between art and drugs.
Well, with heroin, it seems to me the people I know that, and I've known quite a few people that became terribly addicted to heroin, helplessly addicted to heroin, to the point that they lost everything. And it simplifies the whole game of life into getting your fix, securing your fix, and then you're good. That
Hmm.
makes every day is the same day.
It's
And
repetition.
and you wake up, you gotta figure out how to get enough money to buy heroin, and then you get the heroin, then you do the heroin, and then you're good. And so, and then everything else in the world just disappears. You know, it just becomes this tunnel. Um, And so, in that way, it's like, what else is there to write about once you get to that point? Um, and the songs are good, you know, like that song "Heroin" is a great song.
Yeah. It is a great song. Would you wager that that is the pinnacle song about heroin is Velvet Underground's Heroin?
Yeah,
And
it's pretty
piggybacking
good.
off of that,
It's a pretty good one.
uh Cocaine by Eric Clapton about cocaine.
You mean
Is that
JJ Cale?
oh did JJ Cale write that?
Yes.
Okay, I did not know that. That's great though. All right,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
JJ Cale's Cocaine covered by Eric Clapton.
He's such an incredible everything that he does. It's like nobody can touch him.
Yeah,
Songwriter, guitar player, singer. Yeah, monster.
yeah.
It's,
Really good musician. Now
he's my
you
birthday twin, by the way, December 5th.
ooh, hey,
JJ Cale.
shout out to JJ Cale.
Yeah.
Um yeah, that's nice. That's nice to have a birthday twin. That's good.
He's a good one.
I
You
don't
don't
know
have
who
any?
I don't I not that I recall. Um but that's just what you get for being a leap year kid, you know?
Oh shit, you're a
I'm
leap year
kidding.
kid.
I'm not a
Uh,
leap. I wish. I'm
my
not
cousin
gonna.
is.
Do they
I d-
celebrate on the first or the 29th?
dude, I don't even know. I don't know what I think he just does it regular style to save him the hassle, you know? Uh, but I'm not entirely sure.
I
Um,
understand. I would also be trying to do it regular style myself if I was in the position, for sure.
lying about being a leap year kid,
Yeah,
strange
no,
thing. Strange.
I'm not. I wasn't claiming that. I'm not trying to be a poser about the leap year children. Well, and speaking about your relatives, I had your brother on a few weeks ago, and I told him this, and I'm gonna tell you the same thing. I didn't realize that you guys were related. I was like, oh, Hanson, that's cool. Wonder if they know each other, and I think you guys do. You guys are dang brothers.
We are, yeah, yeah.
When your brother was on here, he discussed one of his earliest experiences playing music was with yourself and Chad, who we had mentioned about an hour and a half ago now.
Uh-huh.
Um, was that do you recall being in this group with your brother and Chad? And I believe that your brother was on bass at that time, and you guys were both on guitar, if I'm not mistaken, from what he was referring to. Is this ringing a bell?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I
Was
remember
that
this band.
was that one of your first iterations of being in a band?
It was, yeah. It was. It was maybe like the third or fourth band that I was in.
Whoa! All right.
We moved quickly, through projects. Because yeah, it was like every new record I got, it was like the old band would fall apart, and then this new record would inspire a like whatever I was getting. Um, I think during that time I was like really into the Smashing Pumpkins, and then before that I had a band that was like I was really into Radiohead, and then before that I had a band that was like really into the Rolling Stones and classic rock and stuff like that.
Did this amalgamation of early projects kind of lead you to where you are now?
Yeah, I mean, I just think I've always been kind of obsessive, and when I become obsessed with something, I get like hyper focused. It's like otherwise, as you can tell in this conversation, or just like generally, like when other people have to deal with me, I'm in like five places at once constantly. But with music, for some reason, Um, it has just always been a thing that I can zero in on and just focus on very clearly. I can hold it in my mind, um, without interruption, and everything else is very much the opposite. So I think those early iterations of that were like me just like really obsessing about what I was listening to, and playing guitar like obsessively every day, um, night and day, and then writing songs, experimenting with writing songs.
Has there been a day that you just have not picked up the guitar?
Yeah, yeah, there will be days for sure.
Weeks?
Um, but there, not weeks. It depends. If I'm on vacation, obviously I can't pick up a guitar.
Obviously, I'm bringing my
If the wife, if
vacation
the
guitar with me.
I usually do. I usually bring a guitar everywhere I go, um, so that I can futz around. Uh, but I don't really need an instrument to write, but it is helpful, to
Sure.
have. So, but I bring a notebook everywhere I go, and I'll jot down things, pretty much every day.
Are there some notebooks that you're not referencing to get some creative juices flowing through them? Is there just some that are just kind of like a more of a diary that you're just like, okay, this is or a journal of some sort that's like this is just my thoughts for a moment?
I've sort of tried to keep separate, to uh, compartmentalize, my
Good word, good
my
word.
writing, but I find that at the end of the day, I just need to reach. I need to be able to pull my hand out and have there be a notebook there for whatever needs to happen. If I need to make a list, a grocery list, if I need to make, a song list, for or a set list, if I need to, do whatever. So yeah, my notebooks rarely organize in the way that you're talking about. They all kind of, even if I try to do that, they end up just being one fucking clusterfuck of things, whatever's going on in my life, and in it makes it terrible to revisit, because I'm
Hmm.
like, what the fuck is this? Like peanut butter, bananas, like hummus, and then the next, it's like the next page will be like, my son was born today. What a day.
Going back to making music and making music with your brother, the last time you were on here, Western Come was about to be released, and you worked with him on that album, right?
Yeah.
You guys worked together in during that time. Do you feel like you guys share some similarities when it comes to constructing songs? Is there more things that kind of tether you together in some sort of a mindset like that, or is there more differences when it comes down to it?
Um, I don't think we really have a lot in common in terms of how we construct songs. I think we're pretty different for being, from the same mommy daddy. We have very different, like constitutions about like how composition. I more think in terms of like pop, what's catchy, and what's sticking in my head, and he's more like cerebral, like sort of gonna go in, and his the music that he writes is a lot more um like compositionally developed. I think, from the outset, he's like really writing every single part and stuff. And for me, like most of the things that I work on, I am making very broad strokes at first, and like just like really trying to get something on the canvas first. If I'm making a painting analogy, like get something down, and then, let time sort of flesh out the rest of it.
I would have rathered you stick with the puzzle analogy because we're really working on something there. That's fine though. At least started with the P though, so I mean, we're still kind of tethering it to that.
Uh-huh.
Um, Yeah, and he brought up a term, blood harmony, that you guys just have a blood harmony together, when it comes to playing, music, that is. Um, do you feel that when you play with him? Do you feel like you guys are just, like, working on in just some sort of a capacity that you guys just share within music?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that that's a thing with brother bands, you know. You get a brother band together and they're going to be more consonant together. They're gonna um it's a beautiful thing, really, you know. They bring an energy that is uh you know, like you look at Van Halen, where the bottom and the top of that band are two brothers, you know. The foundation being Alex Van Halen, and then you know, star Eddie Van Halen, but they have this great chemistry, you know.
Yeah.
um and I think that brother bands, yeah, it's just it's a whole other thing, you know. It's something that can get developed with other musicians over years and years of touring, you know, like me and Robbie have this, where we just pick up, you know, we can just pick up our instruments and have a conversation. But there's going to be limitations to that conversation that just aren't present, you know, with siblings. Because it is a little more simpatico, like psychic. There's another connection happening.
Yeah. Do you feel like that that connection that you have with other people like Robbie, someone that you're not related to, do you feel like that there is some sort of a vibration when you're playing with somebody else immediately, like, oh, this could be worked out as, like, working together in a certain way? Is that immediate, or even that little first spark has to be worked out and that takes time?
Well, it just there is always um it's like meeting someone and being like, I want to be friends with this person, instead of meeting someone and being like, nice to meet you, but
Mm,
goodbye. Where you're like, there is an initial spark where you find a common interest, or you find that they're funny. Usually it's like sense of humor, like, wow, I really like this person's sense of humor. And then that deepens the more time you spend together, and becomes like a sort of language that you develop with someone else over time. But that takes a long time, you know, to make something that is markedly different than like when you first encountered them in music or otherwise, you know, but you
yeah.
build on it.
Mhm. You hash it out.
Yeah, I guess.
Alright, maybe not. I'm not married to it. Would you wanna work with your brother on another project further down the line?
Yeah, well, we'll see, you know. Working with family is you know, it is it presents its own obstacles that are unique to that.
I could see that happening. I have my own brother, and he's coming on your guys' podcast, soon. So, I talked to both of you. You guys gonna talk to him, and
Nice.
real real brother style.
Yeah, yeah, on the brother podcast.
Full-blown brother podcast. That'd actually be kinda
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah, just talk to brothers.
Just brothers? Now let me
Yeah.
ask you this, would triplets be alright as well? 3 brothers, or is the
I mean, that's
limit at
pretty
2?
no, no, I think as long as they are brothers,
Mhm.
you know,
What
or
about half
triplets. I mean, that'd be fascinating.
Yeah. What about half brothers?
Half brother would be pretty interesting.
Step
I
brothers?
think step brothers, not so much. That to me is like, you know, unless they're having sex with each other, I don't really want to hear about it.
has what you get from making music changed from when you started uh to now? Has that has what you receive from making art like this changed?
I make more money now than I
Okay.
did, you know?
Yeah.
Not a lot, but I make some, you know? I can somewhat have a life and a family, which is really nice. That wasn't the case 15 years ago, 10 years ago. Mostly things have stayed exactly the same, I would say. Uh, since I was what, I was 13 or something when I started playing guitar, and things have not drastically changed in terms of like my enthusiasm or the way that I approach working on records and doing projects is still. I mean, I will say I was a very serious 13-year-old. I was incredibly uh, uh, constantly like frustrated by my inability to like properly express something that I wanted to express. And I still feel that to an extent. Um, but yeah, it's still like I approach records like pretty much exactly the same. And I think that's always the best way to do it is like too many bands these days think of their music as, you know, they're sort of pre-commodifying it, you know, in a way that to make it palatable to people, or um, they're trying to turn it into a business. And I've just never treated what I do as a business ever. Um, it's just a hobby that I get to do with friends that is somewhat successful in a very modest sense, you know?
Has has what you wanted to make changed? Or has your outlook on how to do it changed?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I feel like every record I do is pretty ambitious for me. Like I feel like every record I do, I'm out to prove something to myself. Like I can do this specific thing. And it's like, if I can't do this, then I fucking suck, you know? Like I fucking suck ass. So I gotta like, I can't suck ass. I have to do this thing. And the thing, you know, well, like it's always uh like with this record, it was like, well, I want to do this live. And if I can't do it live, then I shouldn't ever fucking do a record again. Because if I can't do it live, then I can't ever do it.
So that's where that pressure is within this.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Well, dude, I don't think you suck ass, and I think you're awesome, and I really
Thank you,
appreciate you
man.
coming back on here,
I
Corey.
don't need you to say that, but you know,
But
I
I needed
appreciate
to say the lawyers will say otherwise. No, Corey, seriously, thank you so much for coming back on here, man, and carving out a little bit of time. But before I let you go, we got to do some promo. I Love People again is out July 25th, and it's awesome. That is out via Drag City Records. It can be pre-ordered now at dragcity.com, which is where you can also find Western Come uh, along with Juan's vinyl as well. The previous three releases are over there, I believe. That this will be linked below. Again, that's dragcity.com. Your solo releases are streaming everywhere, wherever people get their music. That's where they could find you, along with Juan's stuff. It's also streaming everywhere. Your merch is through your Bandcamp at coryhanson.bandcamp.com, and Juan's merch is through the website at wand.band. Uh, the big cartel is down for right now, but when it's back up, that's where
Oh
people can
yeah.
find it, right?
Yeah, she'll be back up and running soon.
She'll be back up and running, but in the meantime, people can go and visit wand.bandcamp.com to get everything that they need. And people can stay up to date with what you're doing, the releases and news and all that good stuff by following you on Instagram, right? That's the best place.
Yeah, that's a good place. Yeah.
and that's at Cory Hanson with both the O's as zeros.
That's right.
And people can follow wandband.info on Instagram to stay up to date with stuff with Wand. And do we have anything else to promote before we cut you loose here, Cory?
I'm playing some shows. I mean, I'm touring
Woo!
on this record, July 28th to August 8th or so. I'm going up to Pickathon in Portland
Very cool.
and and playing in LA, I think on August 8th at Zebulon. I can't quite remember. Um,
It's all been a whirlwind, but
Dude,
you
my
are
brain
gonna.
is fucking toast. It is
Hey,
done.
that's all right.
It's
Well, let me help you out here. Instagram is where you're going to be plugging these dates. So go ahead and go over there to see what the dates are and when it's going to be all happening. And you will have vinyls at the shows, right?
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
big
So
time.
please be sure to pick up a vinyl if you make it out to one of these shows and to go for your set at Pickathon specifically. Even if you don't want to see anybody else, go for you, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Go
Yeah.
see me. I'll be playing 3 times over the
Woo!
weekend. Yeah, yeah,
Very
with a
nice.
1:30 a.m. Barn show. That's gonna
Whoa.
be quite the experience.
Quite the scene. What's the latest time do you think that you've started a set in the
5
nighttime?
5:30 a.m.
5:30 a.m. Is that technically early or is that still late?
I'd say it's late.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, yeah, that was Desert Days 2017, I think. 2018, maybe?
very nice. Was that
Um,
with Iggy Pop, that one?
I can't remember.
Hey,
My
it was
Bloody
5:30.
Valentine played,
Okay.
and they were sound checking. They had their team testing out the PA at 6 AM. So, and they were running it at like 125 decibels.
Just
So,
pretty quiet, pretty keeping it low because it was early.
yeah, yeah, for
Well,
them.
this Pickathon set isn't gonna be that late, but it is pretty late, so be sure to check out the barn.
Oh
1:30
yeah,
a.m.
the
Yeah,
Galaxy Barn, it's gonna fucking roll.
Galaxy Barn. Yeah, this whole tour is gonna be great. Corey, again, congratulations. And once again, um, I love people out July 25th via Drag City. Corey, you're the man. I'm gonna stop recording this and I'll talk to you in a minute.
Okay.